Hello, my name is Hope Willis and I am presenting on my repeat photography poster. So I'm going to turn this camera around and get started. Okay, so as you can see, my title is Changes in Florence, Alabama's Historic Wood Avenue District Between the 20th and 21st Century by me. So let's see, let me get a pointer real quick. So I broke it down into, of course, abstract, introduction. I put a map of where the historical district marker for Wood Avenue is located, even though that's not the only part, it's about that big. Put methods on how I created this project, the discussion, and then references to back up my ideas, of course. So the goal of this project is to analyze pictures from the years 1949, 1922, 1908, and 1905 of different components on Wood Avenue Street in Florence, Alabama, compared to pictures that I took on July 8th of 2020. The purpose of this and my argument is that since it is considered a historic district and it was registered on the National Register of Historic Places in October of 1979 and then expanded in 1996 and 1997, and I think those expansions added like 51 more structures, houses, buildings, etc. to the already historic district. But because Florence is such an old town and it's rich in history and there's historical markers everywhere, my thought was for this to be considered like a cultural heritage, historical tourism site, it needs to be authentic. And authenticity really revolves around, for this project at least, the preservation and the protection of the physical landmarks of this area. And so I wanted to see how much these changed, and I was hoping that these buildings would not change very much at all, just to remain authentic and historically accurate so we can have a good understanding of how it used to be. So the architecture, I talked about that a little bit with like resident buildings. It changed as the economy went up and down in Florence. Starting in like 1880, the architecture, which we see downtown today mainly of because the houses are so just gigantic, is the Queen Anne Revival architectural structure. There are some Georgian Revival structures, and there's also bungalows, which occurred when the economy started declining a little bit and people couldn't afford to move in these gigantic elaborate houses. So the mixture of the residential homes within this district, that's the three main architectural styles that you'll see. From what I gathered and observed and took photos of, none of these houses have changed. Of course, to be good living circumstances, you do have to do maintenance, and I'm sure all the interior of the houses have been modernized, but on the outside you can still see the exact same framework that has been implemented since the Reconstruction era, before and after, in the 20th century, which is pretty neat. That helped prove my point. I also took photos of community buildings such as religious structures and the Florence Public Library and the post office, which used to be the Florence, if you can see it right here, the Florence Female Synodical College, which was established in the 1800s, I believe. So what I wanted to see about these is if even business buildings or community buildings that don't involve civilians living inside of them, if the structure on those would change over time. Not much has happened, fortunately, to, maintain my argument. This right here, Florence Public Library, the original one that was established in 1949, compared to the photo I took in 2020, it is the exact same building. It is no longer a library, but it has been taken over by the First Florence Baptist Church, First Baptist Church. This right here has gone through a numerous amount of renovations on the same platform. The very first original church actually burned down in 1919. But when in 1963, this official building right here, they put that steeple on top of it, that ended up being the largest structure in the city of Florence at that time. Other than that, not much has changed. Right here is just downtown City Park, which is now known as Wilson Park. And you can see a little bit, I know it's kind of far away and this is low quality, but the Queen Anne architectural structures in the background compared to the exact same houses that are here in 2020. That's the college, the female college that has been torn down in the past century. It is now actually the Florence Post Office, which is very interesting. Not much has changed about the actual architectural structure, but what has changed is the surrounding areas. As you can see, there's more trees. There's an actual college campus of greenery right here compared to the giant parking lot and the paved spaces to put employee cars and mail carts in. That's about the only difference between these two, between 1908 and 2020. My final one is another church, which is the First Presbyterian Church in Florence, established in Wood Avenue. This photo was taken from 1905. They maintained the entire structure of the building from 1824 to the present day. One thing they did do is keep the original walls. They bricked in a lot of the walls later and added front-facing windows and towers, which if you drive downtown, you'll see giant towers with bells in them. That's more recent. But other than that, that is all. Oh, they also added an educational wing in the 70s. But other than that, they made it a purpose, the congregation of this church, to keep things historically accurate. And that pretty much concludes exactly what my argument was this entire time, is for Wood Avenue to remain authentic. I needed to analyze past photos and photos of the current date and see just how much they've changed. And to my satisfaction, the argument was a success, and the historic district can legitimately be called a historic district because of how well it is still interpreted. Thank you.